Imagine a scenario in which a person, let's just call them person A, tries to make an argument to explain their beliefs. Now, the validity of their beliefs or their arguments isn't so much what I'm taking into consideration, just their approach to trying to persuade you or some group of people to adopt their beliefs. So they calmly and logically try to articulate those beliefs. Now let's imagine another person, let's call this person person B, who chooses to respond to person A by trading time that they could devote to logical arguments of their own with sneering, hostility, aggression, and insults. Now they may make logical arguments of their own, but to some degree, either a small or a large degree, they choose to supplement those arguments with these kinds of tactics. Now here's my question, which for my part I intend to try to answer. What does it say about person B that they choose to respond to person A in this way? And I think this is actually a more important question than most people will be willing to immediately concede, because this kind of thing isn't uncommon, and that's especially true here on YouTube. I will somewhat frequently receive an email message or a tweet or something like that in which someone is forwarding me a link to a video in which someone has replied to one of my videos, and they've heavily relied on this approach. I've seen responses to my videos in which people will make fun of my looks or my hair or my clothes or whatever. I even saw one response on an atheist channel in which he devoted a considerable amount of time to ridiculing my facial expressions and the way I sat down in my chair. So I'd like to offer some considerations to help in evaluating videos like this and what it says about the kinds of person that would produce it, as well as their beliefs. And I also somewhat selfishly am hoping that I can use this video as a way to reply to some of those videos in the future. Before I carry on with this message, I do want to take a pause to thank the sponsor for this video, which is Saintmaker. If you're Catholic, your goal in life should be to become a saint. But as I have argued many times on this channel, distraction often competes with our ability to grow in holiness and sanctity. The Saintmaker is the first high-performance planner for the spiritual life made by faithful Catholics for faithful Catholics. Combining the practices of Catholic faithful throughout time with the science of personal productivity, the Saintmaker will help you grow in virtue and structure your spiritual life while getting organized and achieving ambitious goals. The Saintmaker is a beautiful, easy to carry, and well-crafted companion to your Missal, Bible, and Rosary. It's published 4 times per year. Each season includes daily planning pages, feast days, and devotions for both forms of the liturgical calendar, goal-setting pages, confession journals, and a lot more. There are lots of great Catholics who I've never met but wish I had using the Saintmaker, like Scott Williams, CEO of Sock Religious, best-selling author Sam Guzman, YouTubers like Dina Barca and Amber Schneider, and priests like Father Dean Marshall and Father Corey Stitcha. You can try the Saintmaker out, and if you decide it's not for you, you can send it back for a full refund within 90 days. So visit saintmaker.com to shop the planners. Quantities are limited for the summer edition, so head over to saintmaker.com to order yours and to start your Saintmaker journey today. I'm the kind of person who has tried to devote some considerable effort towards growing in wisdom and knowledge, admittedly with varying degrees of success. And if you're like me, you will find that you will have to be somewhat shrewd about where you draw information and who you allow to form your beliefs, because some people will be devoted to trying to help you in that endeavor, whereas some people will devote themselves to trying to manipulate you. And in my experience of attempting to do this, I've found that when I encounter people either through literature or through channels like YouTube, who respond to having their beliefs challenged with animosity and hostility, it tells me that they aren't very confident in what it is that they believe. People who are sincere about wanting to grow in their perspective and in their knowledge, and who are confident in what they believe, will typically welcome challenges to their beliefs. And at the risk of complimenting myself, I'd say this is true of me. It's one of the reasons why if people will knock on my door and want to share their religious beliefs with me, like people like Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses, I will typically welcome them in for a conversation. It's one of the reasons I operate this channel, and as a personal policy, why I never censor comments unless it's like spam or pornography. But I generally welcome the opportunity to have my beliefs challenged and criticized, especially if it's face-to-face, because in my experience of having those kinds of conversations, it's almost always very fruitful, again, assuming that the person on the other end is sincere in wanting to discuss ideas rather than try to score points against an opposing belief. People who are insecure about their beliefs will typically not welcome challenges to those beliefs because it will require them to defend those beliefs, which is something that they can't do, which is embarrassing. This is why simply attacking the other person rather than confronting their beliefs is an attractive escape route for people like this, because it distracts from their insecurities as well as their inability to defend their beliefs. This is also true of people who simply just want to shut down debate and prevent other opposing ideas from being heard, either through authoritative structures or by using tactics that imply that anything that it refutes their beliefs is just hatred. When people resort to these kinds of tactics, it's again a pretty strong indication that they aren't capable of defending their beliefs logically, so they compensate with these less savory tactics. So that's the first thing you could say about person B, is that they aren't confident and they're actually instead quite insecure about their beliefs. The second thing you could say is that their beliefs aren't grounded in reason. Maybe they're grounded in blind faith or prejudices or something, but whatever it is, it's not logical. So that's the first thing you could say about person B, is that they're insecure in their beliefs. The second thing you could say about them is that their beliefs aren't grounded in reason, or at least that's not the reason they adopted those beliefs. Instead, it's probably based on prejudice or emotion or ignorance or something. But whatever it is, it isn't logical. If it was logical, then they would employ logic to defend their beliefs, just like person A does. The third thing I think you can conclude about person B is that they are exhibiting a deficiency in their moral character. Nobody respects, especially an adult, who acts like a schoolyard bully. If a conflict exists and you want to judge who's responsible for it, which is something that, for example, parents and authorities have to do a lot of the time, it's useful to ask yourself, well, who started it? And in a scenario in which there could have been a valuable exchange of ideas, but instead now we find that there's this unnecessary conflict. In this case, it's obvious that person B is responsible for that because they're the ones who unnecessarily introduced that element into it. And anybody who unnecessarily introduces conflict and antagonism and even harm to another person is clearly highlighting a deficiency in their moral character. Another way to look at this is, imagine if person B actually does have knowledge and valid reasons for believing what they do, but instead of sharing that knowledge for the education and edification of others, especially person A, they simply choose to attack and inflict harm on person A. Choosing to inflict harm when you could inflict health on somebody, I think by anybody's estimation, that is clearly immoral behavior. Now, if you're the kind of person who wants to refute other people's beliefs, for example, maybe the kinds of beliefs that are expressed in my videos, then you should try to show as much appreciation as possible for what your audience will find persuasive. Because let's consider the sensibilities of a good-willed person who can't decide which take between person A and person B is more logically valid, but in judging that scenario and in the way that both conduct themselves, one acting calmly and respectfully, the other acting abusively, who do you think they're going to sympathize with? If I was an outside objective observer of that kind of thing, I would find person A far more persuasive, at least in terms of giving them sympathy. Now, taking this tactic may win some people over to your side, but they're only going to be the kinds of people who find that way of behaving appealing. So yes, you may win people over to your side and develop a following and a community all rallying around your creed, but it's going to be composed of people who are hostile, abusive, and arrogant, which to me seems like a fitting reward for someone who leads by that example. Hey, thanks for watching that. If you enjoyed it, then be sure to like and subscribe for more. And if you want to support the making of content like this, then please consider joining my online community, The Reinforcements. It's kind of like Patreon, but instead of being beholden to a big tech company, it's a website I built entirely myself, so there's no risk of us being censored or shut down or anything like that. There are hundreds of people who have already signed up, and our mission is to renew and reinforce the church. So if that's you, then come check it out. As an added bonus for certain tiers, I will also send you a gift box from Glory and Shine, which is a Catholic family-owned and operated company. They make bath and body products. They're actually their beard balm I'm supporting, or I'm sporting right now. I'm not just a spokesperson, I'm actually a customer. So even if you don't join the reinforcements, maybe check them out anyways. Glory and Shine, they're an amazing company.